Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Pat Schloss, president of Valdosta State University. It's always my pleasure to represent some of the very finest activities on our campus to the community and in some cases to our own faculty. Today we're going to talk about one of the more special programs, maybe more unique programs, maybe more minimally understood programs. It's prior learning, the prior learning program. Jerry Merwin is going to be able to talk a little bit more eruditely about the program. You're the expert, and I'm so glad that you occupy a leadership role.
Thank you, sir. I'm pleased to be working with prior learning assessment at VSU. We've been actually doing the prior learning assessment for a little bit over a year. We started a couple of years before that working out the policy and procedures for the project and getting some planning done. And then we actually had the first course on how to develop a portfolio in spring of 2008. And that summer was when we evaluated the first students.
Well, we're gonna come back to that. That's very intriguing. I mean, you've kind of whet my appetite, and where you're describing that a student can put together a portfolio and from that receive academic credit.
Correct.
And obviously based on prior learning or previous experiences. Before we get there, I'd better introduce our third member here, unless I should look as if I'm rude. Mark Smith, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
I very much appreciate it. Now, I'm going to guess that you're a student.
Yes, sir. I'm a non-traditional sophomore here at Valdosta State University.
Non-traditional means that you're not 19?
Yes, sir.
I figured that out. I knew that. Normally, I think we use it that way. You've got life experiences that few can imagine, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. I have. I'm retired from the Air Force, 25 years as a jet engine mechanic. I retired out at Moody Air Force Base.
You are a jet engine mechanic at Moody Air Force Base, 25 years. I can do the math. That puts you around 40-ish years old.
Yes, sir.
And from that, you're picking up a new path in life. And you're not going to lay back and retire like in capital R retirement.
No, sir, not at all.
You're going to have a new future. The future will be?
In psychology.
In psychology, as a counselor?
Yes, sir.
Good for you. You're using prior learning assessment as a path to that goal. And you know, it sure sounds like it makes sense. If you've done 20-ish years in the military at a incredibly sophisticated job like jet engine repair, you've learned some things.
Yes, sir.
And you're not the same as that 18-year-old or 19-year-old in the classroom. Have you noticed that?
Yes, sir.
In a good way?
Yes, sir.
I've got to open that back to you, Jerry. So that's what we're celebrating. I mean, it is a
Very
celebration
much so.
that when Mark is in a classroom and he's surrounded by the typical 19-ish year old freshman or sophomore, there's a huge difference in their frame of reference,
Very
in their
much so.
ability to learn and their ability to synthesize and integrate what they've learned with things that really matter. And I'm sure you've got huge advantages in some areas, maybe some disadvantages in other areas.
That's true.
Tell me about prior learning assessment now from the Colonel. I mean,
Okay.
what step by step, obviously we're assuming, or I'm assuming, that a person comes to you and says, I've got significant life experiences, and from those I'd like you to distill out academic coursework that I'm not really needing, that I might be past.
Okay. My role is I'm the counselor for prior learning assessment, so I am usually the first contact point. A student may be referred to me by either a professor or one of their academic advisors, and they come to me and we talk about their life experiences. In many situations, it's like Mark's case where he was in the Air Force, and in addition to his training as a jet engine mechanic, he also received leadership training as he gained rank. In other cases, there might be other types of specialized training that people have that we can then try to match with a particular course. And if the content is similar, the faculty assessors actually create an evaluation based on the course outcomes, the course objectives. And they evaluate the student's knowledge as if the student were in the course, but in this case they don't sit through the class as a student would normally do. But they have to demonstrate the same level of learning in order to earn the credit. Now,
I don't want to peek into your own transcript, Mark. Although I'm going to guess if I did, I'm going to see a lot of A's and B's there, maybe all A's. I'm going to guess that. But what kinds of things did you see in your work at Moody matching up nicely to the curriculum at Valdosta State?
At Valdosta State, one of the courses that was offered was a course called Perspectives in Leadership.
Okay.
And in the Air Force constantly stressed for us to go to leadership trainings. We had several schools that we would have to attend as a part of our Air Force training that really dealt with leadership. So once I talked with Dr. Merwin, we began to look at the transcript, and we began to look at the different classes that were offered, and we began to look at how I could put together a portfolio to document and show that I had learned those course objectives through my Air Force training.
I can't imagine there are many more people in the state or in the nation that have more leadership than a person that's risen through the ranks in the Air Force. And by the way, talking about significant leadership and responsibility, if you made a mistake on the line as a mechanic, what would the effect be?
It could be catastrophic.
That's the word, isn't it? Catastrophic.
Definitely.
So you're a very serious individual, and the word leadership really distills down to avoiding those catastrophes.
Yes, sir.
Is it easy to form the assessment, to be fair and still not to be so liberal that we're, quote, giving away something that hasn't been earned?
Certainly with faculty members who are looking at this type of an assessment, that's the key issue, is that we want to be fair to the student, but also we don't want it to be perceived that we're giving away the credit. I believe that what they do in most cases, the faculty assessors do some type of evaluation similar to what they would do in a course. So in some cases they take a test from the course and use that with the student. In the course that Mark mentioned, the Perspectives on Leadership, those students who take the course do several projects, they write a paper, they do a PowerPoint presentation, and he did those as part of the portfolio that he put together and used some of the information that he had learned from the Air Force training in that process. So the process the faculty assessor uses is simply adapting those evaluation methods to working with a student who is not sitting in the class and hearing the discussion or taking part in the day-to-day lecture with the professor.
Is every course fair game? Can any course on our campus be a focus for a student who has previous learning?
Well, that's a good question. What we did when we started out was we asked each of the deans and the department heads to work with their faculty and identify courses that they thought would be good for this type of evaluation or assessment. And we started out with 27 courses that we have available now for prior learning assessment. When students come in and talk to me, I usually say, well, let's look at those courses, but also if those don't match with what you've learned along the way, we will try to see if there is a course that matches, and we will then talk to the faculty and the department head and the dean to find out if they will consider using prior learning assessment with those courses. So it fits better with some courses than others.
Very good. Mark, the curriculum, if you will, that you followed to become a first flight jet engine mechanic had to be rigorous, had to be extensive. How much of it would you see applying to the academic curriculum at the university?
Basically, putting together a portfolio was just like following a checklist.
Yeah, it is.
Once I sat down with Dr. Tillman and we began to go through the course curriculum, she would give me a checklist of things that I needed to go out and acquire to prove that I had obtained that type of knowledge. So it's just like performing a pre-flight on an airplane. When you go to put together a portfolio for these prospective courses, you still have to make sure that you have everything documented. You have to dot every I, cross every T.
You and I know I happens to be a pilot, not at the level of sophistication that you are, but nothing is entrusted to memory or to the seat of the pants, simply nothing. there is a checklist, and you cross every T, dot every I, every check in every column, because you can't trust that you did what you really needed to do, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's probably a very good analogy to prior learning assessment. We aren't going to just let you humma, tell a story,
Right.
and then you get the thing done. There's a checklist, because we won't trust to memory or trust to a loose conversation that you've mastered the things that a young person sitting in the chair for that class have mastered.
And those are some of the things when folks talk to me about prior learning assessment, and they ask me how was the portfolio process and how do you go about doing it. That's one thing that I make sure that I let them know that, they're not going to just give you credit. You got to prove to them that you've actually done the job, that you've actually carried through with this. So there's a lot of things that you have to research. I had to contact the Air Force school there at Gunter Air Force Base in Alabama to get the information to show them and to prove that we actually cover the same course curriculum that the university is requiring of us. So once you can show that from the course catalog from the Air Force's school and show it to where we are using the same criteria here at Ball State, then you're able to prove that you can actually function and actually that you've done that type of material.
Good for you. Now, you are a sophomore, you had said.
Yes, sir.
And you will you'll graduate in how many years? When you think you'll finish up?
In about 2.5, 3 years.
You smile a little bit. You're a little nervous about that? You never know, right?
Right.
2.5, 3. And what portion of your credits do you think will be prior learning assessment credits?
I'm trying to get all of my core courses. That's what I'm working on now, is to get my core courses done, and those prospective courses I can get using the prior learning assessment.
What are some titles, if you will, that you think you can match against your work in the military?
The one that I've done this past summer was Perspectives on Leadership. And then this spring I'm going to do one on Perspectives on Success.
Leadership, success. I guess there could be leadership without success, right? I might be good at that. Okay. Anything else come to mind as you're looking through it?
There are some others. Dr. Merwin and I talked about doing a computer perspective as well. For a church website that I have, I put together all of the materials for that, and we looked at that as well as something that we might be able to do in future to fulfill one of those courses as well.
Very good. Dr. Merwin, how many students have received credit, proficiency credit?
A total of 19 students have actually earned credit in the 1 year that we've been doing this for 44 courses and a total of 163 credit hours. One of the areas that's really turned out to be a big impact in this is the nursing program. We have a program RN to BSN, so students come in with the degree already as an RN, but they want to earn the BS degree in nursing. If they've got 5 years clinical experience, then they can do prior learning assessment for some of the nursing courses, and Gail Taylor is the nursing instructor who's the faculty assessor, and she's been very enthusiastic in working with those students because a lot of what they do on the job day-to-day, training they've received in the hospital, they've learned a lot of the content that is equal to what they would get if they sat in a regular nursing course. So she's been very successful in working with those students. Dr. Nancy Sheets, who teaches in the deaf education program, she has set up the American Sign Language courses. There are 2 of those introductory courses that students can do through prior learning assessment. So if they already know sign language, for instance, some of them might have a deaf family member and they've learned to do the sign language from that family experience. Others have been trained either in, say, high school or maybe even in a technical college, but the credits didn't transfer. But if they can demonstrate the knowledge and skills of the sign language, then they're able to get the credit for the course. So those are a couple of examples. We're also doing it in criminal justice. Some of the law enforcement officers who have experience in the field are able to use that, and they have to actually write a paper. This is one thing, a lot of things that students might not realize when they come to us, but they have to exhibit a knowledge of the theory related to their field, not just the experience that they've had. But Dr. Rudy Prine does the assessment for the criminal justice students, and if they can relate their experiences and how it fits with the theory of criminal justice, then they can earn the credit related to an internship that they would do if they were in a regular course.
Very good. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you joining us. You're a remarkable individual, and I admire you. I can't imagine a 20-some year career in the military, and now you're off in another path and making good with that. Well done. Jerry, thanks. Thank you for blazing a path for folks such as Mark and giving respect and credit to a life well lived, as they say.
Definitely.
I hope to those who are watching, you'll see that this is a new door that's opened in the last couple years at Valdosta State. And please seek the opportunity to visit with Jerry Merwin. Take the opportunity to see if maybe there's something in the prior learning assessment venue that might facilitate your entry to a college degree or a college program that you didn't think possible. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time.